Welcome to another episode of the Hardcat Core 99 series. In this episode, we're going to show you how to create a new read-only user via one of two methods. The first method we'll show you is to how to create a new user and changing their details directly, or via how to create a new user and applying them to a new read-only role to apply a read-only security profile. To access the user security settings and list of users, we first of all have to go to File, Administration, Security. Here we're presented with a list of the current Hardcat user accounts. Here we can create a new user via one of two methods, either by pressing the New button or pressing the Copy button. The New button will allow us to create a new user and set all the defaults for a user, whereas a Copy button, based on the selected account, will copy all the rights that account has to the new account. Today we'll use the New button. In this example, we're going to create a new user called Fred. And from here, we can press OK. It's very important on the new code field to get that correct. Once that code has been created and you press OK to save, the only way to change it is by recreating the account with the correct code. Because we're creating a new user, not a copy user, we have to go through and set all the attributes. The first thing we have to do is specify the person. To do that, we click on the Person button. From here, we're presented with a list of all the people records within the Hardcat system. If the user exists as a person, we can select that person from the appropriate folder. If that person doesn't exist, as in this case, we have to create a new person. To do that, select the correct folder, then press the New button. We can either use the code that is presented by Hardcat, or we can enter our own code in to represent this new person in Hardcat. Today, I'm going to use the Hardcat generated code. Now I can write in Fred's name and press OK to save Fred. We could have also entered in other details such as address information, email address, title, phone number, and other attributes based around what we know about Fred at the time of entry. This information can be updated at a later stage if required. With Fred now selected, I can press OK to select Fred against this account. The next thing I need to do is apply a password to this account. Now that I've completed the password, we can go through and set the attributes for Fred. In this version of creating Fred, we're going to set him to be a read-only account simply by selecting the Read option, which is R, from the drop-down for each of the different menu options here for the different areas. The menu areas here on the right are around the core module entities, so by giving him read-only access, it'll mean all he will be able to do is access those areas, view, and report. He'll not be able to edit or create or delete any of these entities. The same goes for the other areas in the access. We can go read access for the other modules as well. If Fred does not need access to any of the modules, we can simply go N and that will then block his access to that particular module. As Fred is a read-only account, he would not need access to the administration or the user section. The financial area is the area on an asset which stores the purchase price, purchase date, end of life information, warranty information, additional costs, as well as disposal information. If we again want to give him read-only access to this, we can, or we can take his rights away fully by selecting N. Also, if with our exporting and importing in Hardcat, we can select him to be a read-only, which means that he will only be able to use the definitions that have been generated within the system. I can now press OK to save that account. We now have Fred Smith created as a new registered user in Hardcat. If we use Fred's login, he will only be able to read an asset and not update an asset. We can check that by logging into Fred's account. If we now go to our list of assets, lists assets, we can see on the right hand side there is no New button, there is no Delete button. But what we have access to is Drop, View, Edit, Send, and the asset's current unit values. The Edit button allows you to open up the record, but it still doesn't allow you to edit, as in the OK button is currently not available. We can see the information, but we cannot update any of the information. As we can see, the fields are all grayed out, plus the OK button is not available. If we were to go to the other areas, for example, our list of locations, Fred does not have access to the New button that is grayed out. If we look at our product catalog, again, the New button is grayed out. So therefore, Fred cannot create or edit any of the entities that we have giving him access to. The second method to creating a read-only account, rather than specifying the role rights at an individual user, is by using the roles functionality, by going to File, Administration, Roles. Here, by default, we'll have System Default Role, which will give you access to all areas of the system with read, amend, and delete access. But that level of access is too high. So what we want to do is create a new read-only account, read-only, and apply the security settings to that role. When we click on Role Security, this presents us with the options of going through and specifying what rights any user that's associated to this role will have. In the instance of a read-only account, we'll go through again and specify it to be read-only access. And again, for all the different modules, what level of access? Read-only access. Administration, we'll leave that as no and users at no, but financial, exports, import, and reports, we'll make that R as well. We'll ensure that the other options are selected correctly as well as in the options menu. So again, we want to be able to set our people to be able to go through and at least read the different areas under security. Read, stock, and read, and purchase order templates read. From here, we also can go through in other options and specifying what they can and can't do. So again, we don't want our read-only user to be able to modify any of our structures. So again, we'll leave most of these unticked. Again, we don't want our person to be able to create help desk problems as they only have read access only anyway. They can't get access to the new functionalities there. Maintenance, purchasing, there's no need here to change any purchasing rights with our default issue return and our Hardcat web access. So if our user is a web user as well, we can allow them access to the different areas within Hardcat web. We can press OK to save, and OK to save this account, and OK to save the role. So now we have two roles in the system, read-only and system default. If I close out of this role now and go to File, Administration, Security, if I now go to Fred's account, I can change his role from system default to read-only. And by doing this, it will then change all his rights to be the read-only rights. And all the rights for that account are linked to the read-only account. To change something for Fred, we would require to change the role, and any other account that's associated with that role would also have that change. To save Fred, we now press OK to save. And that is the two methods of creating a read-only account, either by using the new functionality and setting the rights individually, or setting the rights based on a role association.